Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar. My name is Sonia Siddiqui, and joining me today is Shelly Funk.
Hi everyone, I'm really excited to be here today. I'm new to online services, so I'm really excited to be here and answer your questions about job search.
Awesome. So today's segment is called Ask Us Anything About Your Job Search, to be specific. And we've got a lot of you asking us tons of questions, and they were very great. So we put them all into similar categories, and we've got about 7 questions that we're going to be answering. But towards the end, we're going to be taking up live questions as well. Okay, so we're going to get started, and thank you all for joining in. I'm just going to go over a quick few slides, and then we'll get right into it. So a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Sonia Siddiqui, and I've been bringing you webinars so far, and it's always been a joy, and it's really great to help people out with their job search. And before I came online, I was actually helping people one-on-one, so helping people with their job search, helping them find jobs, helping them connect to different employers. So it's a lot of fun doing this, and it's great to see how all of our job seekers end up in great workplaces after they've received some help from us. And Shelly?
I'm Shelly, everyone. As I said, I am new to online services, and I'm so excited to be here today. A little bit about me. I've been in the employment services for a while now, and I really have a passion for helping people and working with them towards reaching their goals. So I'm really excited to be here and answer all of your questions today.
Thanks, Shelly.
So today on the webinar, we're going to be answering the commonly asked questions you have about your job search. So based on your questions, we will be talking a little bit about your job search strategies, networking, applying to jobs and tips on how to do that, interviews, and more.
Thanks, Shelly. So now we're going to get right into it. So one of the questions, or many of the questions that people were asking was, what is the best way to look for a job? So we've created kind of this pyramid for you, and we're going to go break it down for you. So there's not just one way to look for a job. And if you're only using one method, then it kind of lowers your chances of putting yourself out there for people to know you and know your wonderful skills and abilities. So to start us off, we can take a look at the typical job search journey and how it starts. So if you're looking for a job, what do? You go online. And as a job seeker, this is the best way to apply online because you're sitting comfortably at home behind, your computer screen in your pajamas with a nice cup of coffee or tea or a glass of wine, whatever you drink in the morning. and you're watching your favorite reruns on TV, you're watching your Netflix, and you type into your job search site, and you click on a few buttons, and that's it. You've applied. That's simple and easy, but is it the most effective way, right? So you've been doing that for a while, and you haven't really heard back from the employers that you really want to work for. You may hear back from people, and it's very exciting that people are calling you, but are these the people that you really want to hear back from? And so you decide to change out of your pajamas and head out to find a recruiter. Now that goes on for a while, but that isn't enough either. You're still not satisfied with the results. So you really need to get out there and show people who you are. And you're more than just a Word document, which is your resume. So, you set out to join a professional association, and, you join online groups, which may have job postings that are directly connected with the person, and you can connect with them online as well. Apart from that, you might want to tell everyone who know your job status that to keep a lookout for you for future job opportunities, and that's something you really need to focus on. Word of mouth. A lot of people are embarrassed to say that they might not, they're not working or they're unemployed. But I really think that you need to tell people that you're looking for work because you never know who's got, a position in mind, or they know someone who knows someone who knows someone else that could possibly refer you. So it's really important to let people know that you're looking for work. And then hopefully one of your contacts has an opening at their company and they recommend you for the position. So if you're already employed, you might want to consider moving up into the company or just switching roles. But if you're not employed, this wouldn't apply to you. But how do employers look for their talent? So you want to know, the people that you're looking for, how are they looking for people like you? Their very first step is actually the last step, which may not even apply to you if you're unemployed. The job is at first only posted internally. So employers want to hire someone that they know, someone they can trust, and someone who already knows the company, the culture, and the people, and is already branded into the company. So they start, which where you would be the last move for you. And if there's no one at all who wants to move around the company, the employer will then offer referral bonuses to their employees for bringing in someone that they know, so bringing in these referrals. And companies pay up to maybe $5,000 in referral bonuses depending on the position. And I've seen that happen. It must be nice to get that bonus for referring a friend. So you might feel shy about asking your friends about jobs, but your friends have their own incentives. They're going to get a nice vacation out of getting you hired. So why not? So tell people that you're looking for work. Um, so in case that doesn't work, weeks go by and referrals are not coming in as expected, then employers start networking and use word of mouth in hopes of getting the right fit for the position. So now they're over here. Um, Time is going by and the work is piling up and no one good enough has been hired yet. So now companies start to get a little desperate and reach out to recruiters and actually pay them to help find them talent. Okay, so now they're about here. And at the same time, they also go to their very last resort and then post the job online, or jobs already posted online. I guess now this is when they start recruiting from their online database, which seems to be your first instinct to start your job search. So do you see what might be a barrier in your job search here? You're starting from the opposite end. So applying online is certainly an effective way to find jobs, but this chart will show you how important it is to at least try to meet the employer halfway on this pyramid.
So our next question is, how do I go about networking with employers? Well, that is a really great question. And I know for many of you, when you hear the word networking, you start getting these feelings of anxiety and nervousness. Oh no, what are they going to think of me? What do I say? How do I look? If this sounds like you, I want you to first take a deep breath. Whenever you hear the word networking, I want you to just think of it as just making a connection with another human being. Some people might make it look effortless, but know that it takes time and practice to get better at it. So what are some things you can do? To start off, I would make a list of your existing contacts. These are people you already have in your network, and then rank them based on your level of connection. This might look something like this. So for your A contacts, these are the people you can just call and say, hey, it's me, and they know who you are. Typically, these are your close friends or family members that you talk to quite often. Then you have your B contacts. These are the people you can call and say, hey, it's me, Shelly. They know who you are very quickly. So these would be your friends, colleagues you talk to regularly, friends in your network, things like that, people like that. Then we have our C contacts. Those are the ones that you say, hey, it's me, Shelly from work. So they need a little bit of context as to where they know you, where you're calling from. Maybe you don't talk to them as often, or they were in your network before, or maybe they're an acquaintance. So then we have our D contacts. These are the people who maybe you don't know or you met them once a long time ago, where you'll need to introduce or reintroduce yourself to them and say, hello, my name is Shelly. So this will give you a good idea of your existing network and help you stay in touch with important contacts you'll want to keep or move up as A or B contacts. So when you are networking, you want to have a goal of making these lasting connections with others. There are so many ways that we can do that, and so we'll just go over a few now. So first off, there's your circle of family and friends. Like Sonia was saying earlier, you want to tell everybody you know that you're looking for a job. So this is really a way for you to start planting those seeds in people's minds that you're looking, that you have the skills and abilities to do the job. And people, you never know who your friends and family might know as well, right? So keeping in touch with them, letting them know, you never know whom they might be able to introduce you to. Then there's your past employers and colleagues as well. So make sure you reach out to your old employers and colleagues. Perhaps they are working somewhere that is hiring, or at least you can plant that seed with them. Sometimes opportunities happen very quickly, and then other times you have to really take care of your network and be patient with its growth. There's also professional associations and alumni associations that you can be a part of. So if you are in a specific industry that has a professional association, make sure you keep in contact, you get involved. With your alumni, if you plan to do school in Canada or even back home, just make sure you're keeping in contact with those people and see how they might be able to work with you and how you can work together to create those opportunities. Other things you can do is social media. So if you're not on LinkedIn already, make sure you're getting on that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. There's also informational interviews. So if you are not currently here or you want to get into an industry, try to find individuals who are in that industry and ask them those questions about, what the labor market is like, how did they get into their role? And all of these questions will really help give you an idea of what the industry is like and how you can get in there. Another thing you can do is try something new. If there's a hobby or a sport or an activity that you like to do or you used to do and you don't get to do it as much, try to find a group or club that has that opportunity, whether it's skating on the weekends or if it's even playing basketball or doing arts and crafts. Try something new. You never know who you might be able to meet in these new networks. And lastly, you can always volunteer. There are so many organizations that you can get involved with. Even ACCESS, we also have volunteers that volunteer with us, and you never know what happens with volunteering. So those are just a few of the ways that can help you with networking. So this next question is, what should I say when I'm asked, tell me about yourself at an interview? Another really good question, because it's so important that everyone has an answer to this prepared and prepared well. So whenever you go to an interview, the employer will ask you the question in some way, shape, or form. It might not be exactly tell me about yourself. It might be tell me about your skills and experiences. How does your experience relate to the job? Often we hear this type of question asked as the very first question. So that's why it's really extremely important that you develop this, practice this, and get it right. If you learn how to prepare for this question, it will help start your interview off right in the best way and hopefully help you shape those nerves. So what are employers looking for when they ask you to tell them about yourself? Tanya, do you want to maybe give an example?
Sure. So maybe I could start talking about where I grew up. So I could say maybe, I grew up in a small town, and then my family moved to Canada, and then I went to school. We recently got a new dog, and he's very cute. And I love the summer in Canada, and then it's nice to have longer days when you go to work. I mean, I could go on and on talking about myself.
Okay. Nice try. But when it comes to this question, you want to make sure you're keeping it professional. This happens quite a lot with people who maybe never learned how to answer interview questions. They might start talking about, literally about themselves, about their hobbies and interests and things like that. But really what employers are looking for is a summary of your professional self. So for me, I always try to find ways that help me so that I create some structure. So you can think of these three areas that you want to talk about during your answer, and that's your skills. So these are your interpersonal skills, your technical skills. That might be your communication, the fact that you speak another language, or you know how to use certain equipment, or you have certain knowledge. So these would be your interpersonal and technical skills. You might also have education. So where did you graduate school? What industry is your area of expertise? And then any additional certifications that you might have. You might want to kind of just create a list of these things that are your skills. In your experience, you want to talk about relevant positions to the job that you're applying for. So think of what was your most recent job, what are the kind of position titles that you've had in your career history, and then also thinking about your sector and industry. So what area are you kind of focused on? Lastly, and what's really, really important is the value. So really thinking about what value can you bring to the organization? What can you contribute, right? So these are the things that you want to be thinking about when you're answering this question. So what I like to do is kind of have all of these three areas out for me, and then structure it in past, present, and future. This is really just kind of a way to help guide you when you're talking about tell me about yourself, because oftentimes we might, start talking and then we kind of go in this area and then we move on to something else and then, oh, we have to go back to that other thing that we were mentioning earlier. So it can get kind of difficult to organize all of your thoughts, especially when you're feeling very nervous. So a good helpful tip is to think about it in past, present, and future. So the past, describe your skills and experience of the recent past. The present, describe what you are currently doing or striving for. And then future, mention what you can contribute and how you would like to be part of that organization. So just as an example, I can read one that we've created for you, just to kind of hear what it might sound like. So first, this is the past part. So I have 5+ years of experience as a sales manager in the IT industry. After graduating from school with a Bachelor of Commerce, I got a position at an IT firm as a junior sales representative. In that role, I was able to build a strong client base, exceeding targets by 15% year over year. Due to my excellent ability to develop relationships with clients, I was promoted to senior sales representative and then to my current role as a manager. So then you talk about the present. Currently, I am responsible for supervising a team of 10 junior representatives. I have been able to lead the team to success due to my innovative ideas and strategies to motivate my team. And lastly, we'll end with something looking forward. So I'm now looking to expand my skill set to your organization. Based on my research, I believe that I would be able to contribute my skills and experience and to help continue to grow your client base through excellent quality service. So that's just a kind of a quick example of how you might map out your tell me about yourself answer. As I mentioned before, it's really important that you have this prepared and prepared well, as it is the very starting point of your interview.
So the next question that we get quite often is, how do I target my resume to the job description? So when applying to jobs, you want to make sure that you are tailoring and targeting your resume towards the job description specifically. Like, trust me, I understand how difficult that can be, but the more you do it, the easier it will get. This is especially important if you're applying to jobs in different industries or different levels. One of the first things you want to do is print a copy and paste the job description somewhere. It's common that once employers are at the interviewing stage, they will take down the posting and you won't be able to access it online. So make sure you do this to help you prep. Or you can always copy it into a Word document and save it or attach it with your resume and just have them both together, because once that's gone off, then you might not be able to target your resume like you want to. And especially when you get that interview call, you want to make sure that you have the job description and the resume that you applied with in front of you, so that there's no discrepancies when you're speaking about yourself or related to the job. Sometimes when you're job searching, you apply to all these jobs, but then you actually manage to get an interview, but you don't know which company is calling you or what the position you applied for was. And this is where this comes in handy. So make sure you keep a tracker of the jobs that you've applied to. Now let's talk about how we can prepare a resume to get to the interview stage. Read and understand the job posting really well from the perspective of the employer. Try to really get to understand who they are looking for. Print out the posting, highlight and circle the keywords, or you can do it online as well. I mean, we all work differently. So make a chart, okay? So make a chart of what the employer wants versus what you have. And then this is really important to see, because you want to make sure that your resume or your profile is about an 80% match to the job. So if the employer is asking for all these things that you don't have, don't bother to apply for that job, because you're going to put in a lot of time and effort and hope into this and you might not get a call. So be realistic, apply for jobs that you have the experience for, and that's something more realistic. In your resume, you should have near the beginning section on your skills and qualifications. In the employer job description, they also always have a similar section that might ask for interpersonal skills, technical skills, educational background, and others. However, you want to make sure that you mirror those needs the employer has as quickly as possible in your resume. So for example, if they want someone with 3+ years of experience in, let's say, banking and is fluent in French, make sure that you add that at the top. Use the same or similar language or wording. For example, the job description says client, so then you would also call your customer a client. So this is something that helps targeting a job. So you might be just taking keywords from the job description and putting it into your resume, but you also have to watch for the language. So if they're using certain words, for example, client for customers, you want to make sure that you're doing the same thing as well. Start with the most relevant when writing in your experience category. I know there's all these things that you've done and you have all this great experience, but you want to focus in on what is the most relevant and matches with the job description. Overall, be strategic. Think in the perspective of the employer. And I know it's hard because you're like, I don't know what the employer is looking for, but really read the job ad and see what is it that's really important to them, and that's what you're going to offer. Show them what they want to look for. What are they looking for, and how can I show them as soon as possible that I am who they're looking for? So you have to make sure that you have it up at the top, so as soon as they see it, they're like, ding, 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 this is the person we've been looking for, that's exactly what we asked for.
So the next question, should my LinkedIn profile and my resume be a perfect match? Wow, whether you're writing a resume or updating your LinkedIn profile, you have to remember the purpose and the audience you are writing for. So with resume writing, as we have learned from Sonia, thank you, you want to have it tailored to the position. So this might mean you have many versions of your resume that you send to different industries and employers. It's concise, specific, and relevant to only the job that you're applying for. With LinkedIn, you have just the one profile at any given time. So therefore, you should ensure that what you put on your online profile is ready for your ideal job, client base, or where you want to go in your career. As we know, resumes do not need a photo, but on LinkedIn, it is best to put a professional photo. So don't put a selfie or a picture with you and a bunch of friends and then crop you out and use that as the photo, no matter how good you look in that photo. Another point to think about is the fact that LinkedIn is a social media networking tool. You want to remind yourself of what the platform was built for and make sure you're matching your style and tone. That means on your LinkedIn profile, there is more space and opportunity to talk about your stories, your accomplishments, even listing your skills, your volunteer experience, and any other events that you're also a part of. It's also somewhere where you can engage with others through articles and have commentary and talk about what's happening in your industry, changes in the industry, or even just topics of interest for you. Whereas a resume is static, once you send it in, that's it. LinkedIn is something that is constantly changing as well, based on whatever's kind of being updated in your career. So this means your LinkedIn profile can be much longer than your resume, but it also means that the information you have on LinkedIn may be slightly different, only that there's more information to look at. In either case, you want the information to be consistent. So if you are, an IT manager or banking manager or whatever in your resume, but then suddenly you're, a farmer on your LinkedIn page, it's going to be very confusing for employers. So we know that employers more and more frequently will look you up online when you're going in for an interview or applying to a job. If they see something totally different on the resume and what's on LinkedIn, it's going to raise some red flag. So make sure you're being consistent on your resume and in your LinkedIn profile and marketing yourself well as a single individual and not as a bunch of different people doing a bunch of different things. Because again, that might be confusing for the employer.
Thank you, Shelley. Moving on to the next question. So if the job posting doesn't ask for a cover letter, do I still need to write one? And we get this question way too often. So the answer is yes. It is always a good idea to write a cover letter. Unless you are unable to add the additional attachment when you're applying online, you should write a cover letter. It does take extra effort, time, and energy, but however, it is your way of showing the employer how serious you really are. It also gives the opportunity for you to further highlight your accomplishments, tasks, skills, abilities. So what should you put on a cover letter? Let's go over that now. And another thing I want to go over is that if there's a few resumes that are just resumes, there's a few resumes that have a nice package, like comes with a nice cover letter and the resume attached to it. I think the employer probably will focus on the ones that with a resume and a cover letter because you have put in more effort and you're showing more interest into the job position. So when writing a cover letter, like any letter, you want to have a beginning, a middle, and of course an end. So beginning, which would be paragraph 1, you want to start off with introducing yourself, and you are writing in a short paragraph. I would keep it to about 2 to 3 lines. When people hear paragraph, they think half a page. It's literally 2 to 3 lines. So you want to show your excitement about the position and do your research about the company. What is their mission or organizational values? And try to incorporate that into this section briefly. The middle is, your second paragraph, and the middle section is where the meat of it goes. You want to be thinking of your skills, experience, and accomplishments. You want to relate them to positions you have held recently and that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. You can structure them through job titles or by skills required for the job, and you might want to have a position per bullet point, maybe. So again, this is just a few lines over here as well. And lastly, you want to sign up. So you can summarize here why you are a great fit for the position, highlighting the top skills that you have. You may want to mention again how you can contribute to the company. Make sure you remind them of your contact information, phone number, email. I know that you would have put it in your resume, in your header, like it's everywhere, but it's still important to restate it over here. So your phone number and your email address as well. Finally, you want to thank them for their time and consideration in reviewing your application.
Awesome. Okay, so what can I do before I come to Canada to help my job search? I know a lot of you might be wondering this as well, but one of the very first things that you can and should do is research and plan your move. You really want to understand the labor market in Canada, what's going on, and how you can kind of get into the market, right? You want to see how you fit into the Canadian culture, the Canadian labor market. What are you going to be bringing and offering to Canada? So also understand that it's not going to be an easy transition. Sometimes you might have had a lot of experience in your home country and you have kind of all of this professional experience, but then you come to Canada and sometimes you have to realize that, you know what, you might have to kind of do a lot of different things to help you get back to the position that you were in before. It's not going to be as easy as we would all love for it to be. So just make sure you're creating a plan on what you want to do and then actually following through and making sure that it's the right decision for you. We have a lot of resources that can help you to do that. So for example, we have programs here at ACCES. Even kind of watching this webinar is a great first step. So reach out to us here at ACCES or any employment service provider close to you because we are here to help you through this, what can be a difficult journey.
Yeah, those are great points. Also, it's very important to stay up to date with your industry, job trends. If you're in a licensed career, you really need to know what certifications you need. If you need to upgrade your license, or if you need to transfer your credits, if you're taking a course over here, you really need to find out about all of these things before you get here. Especially find out, if you are in a licensed career and it's licensed here in Canada, how you would go about getting licensed again, or do you even want to continue with that? Do you want to take another route? So think about all those things. Check in with your skills and education compared to the Canadian labor market. Informational interviews, so you can always reach out to people and ask them that you'd like to interview them in their position because you're looking to apply in similar positions. Mentorship, this might be a little hard to get before coming to Canada, but you can already start looking at it to see what the prerequisites are so that by the time you get here you have everything that you need. and check out job postings and requirements for the job postings before you even come to Canada. So even if you're not applying to these jobs, it's more important to at least have a look at them and have a better understanding of what you need when you do come to Canada, what is expected from you. And most importantly is to be positive. A lot of us, when we get our clients who are coming to Canada, you're very excited for the new country and you've got a lot of savings. And when you come here, it's just you could see that money starts depleting right away because you have to pay first and last for rent, and then you have to buy all these household items. And no matter how much you bring from back home, you still have to buy a lot of things when you come here. So it's kind of, it makes you very anxious to see all that go. But at the same time, job search is a full-time job in itself. So be prepared, but in the same way, stay positive. As soon as you let your morale down, you lose hope. That's pretty much the end of it, and you're not going to get what you're. So it's very, very important to stay motivated, and you come here with your spouses, with your partners, keep each other up, keep each other going, and it's very, very important to stay positive because all the clients that I have mentored or coached here at ACCES, they're all doing very well. I'm very proud of them, and they actually come back and give back to the future clients as well. So keep in mind that there are good things ahead, but it's very important to keep your head up and stay strong. For an interview in the next 2 days, how do you show up? Right? So they're probably going to choose someone that's already here and is in line with the Canadian job market and has a little bit of Canadian experience just being around Canadians. So, that's always a barrier. But the best thing to do is to go over all the tips that we shared in the last slide so that you, at least when you get here, you're right there, and then it'll be easier for you to apply for jobs and perhaps get a job as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then Abid wants to know if there's any programs from ACCES Employment for international candidates who want to migrate to Canada. So yes, we do. We have a pre-arrival services program. It's called Canadian Employment Connections, and I will share the slide with you after. But that is for people who already have their PR. So if you have just received your PR status and are on your way to Canada, then yes, we do have a program for you that you can enroll in. But we do not help people find jobs in Canada if they're not, if you're not. Basically, you need to be able to work in Canada. So you need to have at least a work permit or PR.
But we always have our online services. So even, checking us out with this webinar, we have our e-access as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. So you can just tune in for that because we do have resources online that even if you're not technically PR or here in Canada, we'll still be able to support you through those resources.
Like our rapid resume event is open to everyone. It's not just for people who are, with ACCES. So this is for anybody all around the world. Kapil has a question. I have 4 different resumes. Should I create 4 different profiles on LinkedIn? And also, if I have LinkedIn profile, it's different from my resume. Shall I avoid pictures? No, this is all very shady. You don't want to do something like that because it's almost illegal if you think about it. So you want to make sure that you have one LinkedIn profile and you have one master copy of your resume because, it's not like, it depends though. Why I don't understand what the reason would be to have so many different resumes.
Well, for your LinkedIn, you want to make sure you have just the one because LinkedIn is where you kind of get to see your professional network online. So if you have multiple LinkedIn profiles, it's going to be very difficult to manage your different connections. So really what you want to do is focusing on trying to make whatever application you have in your resume tailored, but with LinkedIn, you want it to be very kind of specific to the industry that you want to get into, that you're involved with as well.
And like I see you're saying you have resumes for different roles, as in like for one for recruitment, one for project management. You can combine the two because recruitment, when you are recruiting, in itself, it's a project that you're working on. Just combine the two. You don't have to have so many different ones because honestly, it raises a red flag when an employer is trying to see why are there 4 of this man. Does he have different personalities? He's got totally different lives. So you want to make sure that you keep it consistent. That's not like the best practice to do though. Ravi says, thank you for the comments, Ravi. Coming to my first information. Okay, so okay, so again, Ravi's asking a similar question about applying to jobs. So if you are waiting on your PR, and once you do get it, again, you can apply for a CEC program, and then at least you'll start working with an employment consultant and a job developer who will get you started. And then we've got a team that is a post-arrival team. So when you do arrive in Canada and you're still not working, but you're almost ready, we've got a post-arrival team who will help you. And then we've got bridging programs. So when you get here, you can enroll into our bridging program. So it's like a step-by-step process. We've made it easier for people. Before it was just our in-house bridging programs, and it was great, but people wanted to prepare before they came to Canada. So now the CEC prepares you for these bridging programs. So once you're here, you've got a lot of support from all these people that help you. So look into that once you do have your PR. Roshan has a question. Should I stick to a one-page resume for 5 years of experience?
It really depends on your industry, but I would say you want to have your resume maximum 2 pages. You don't want to have more than that. If you have 5+ years of experience, you really want to, again, what we talked about earlier, focus on the job description. What are they looking for? And highlight what's relevant. If you did a job, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and it's not as relevant as maybe what you did most recently, focus on what you did most recently and how it's relevant to the job.
Awesome. Zoe wants to know, how early should I start looking for jobs before I move? She's moving in 2 months, and is it too early to start applying? It is not, but then again, going back to what we said earlier, that employers do prefer that people are already in Canada, and then again, they don't know if you're making it up, if you're saying that, oh, I'm moving to Canada, but then you end up saying, well, I kind of need a work permit, can you help me out? So it kind of wastes a lot of the employer's time as well. But I mean, there's no harm in starting to apply just so that you can get used to and you can get into the flow of applying to jobs, because like I said, looking for work is a job in itself. So you need to really get into that mindset and then the practice of applying for jobs, because it's just like doing an assignment. It's like I have a job description, I have a resume, and now I have to match the two, and it's like working on a project every day. That's why we always say don't apply to more than, I would say, 2 to 3 jobs a day. That's still a lot of work because you want to find good quality jobs, so maybe 2 jobs per day. But there's people who are sending out like 20 resumes, 100 resumes a day. Well, it's not going anywhere. No one's looking at it. Saurabh has a question. If there is an employment gap of more than 6 to 7 months after coming to Canada, is it going to affect future opportunities? So no, because people understand that you just moved to Canada and you were settling in, you were doing what you need to do. So no, that's kind of, you're entitled to that gap because you needed to settle in. If you have like kids, whatever it is, you're looking for work. So it's completely fine to have that, and employers understand that very well. And Canada is the land of new immigrants. So employers know that these people are coming from somewhere and they need their time to settle in. You might even come here for a few months and then go back, wrap up, and then come back again. So there's this even bigger gap sometimes, right? So as long as you can explain the gap in an interview, it should not be an issue at all. So Hala had a similar question. Hala, I hope that answers your question as well. Lakshmi has a question. Say the employers like you and would like to interview you. On an average, how much time does it take for them to call you? So do you want to answer that question, Hala?
Sure, and honestly, that really depends on the employer. I wish I could give you, a concrete answer. It takes you 3 days to get back to you, but it's not going to be like that. Every organization is different, and it might be because, they have some things happening in the organization. Maybe there's some restructuring happening or something like that that might delay it. So you just have to be patient and wait it out and just continue to apply, right? Just keep applying for jobs. Even if you go to an interview, the job search doesn't end until you have that offer in your hand and you sign off. So just make sure that you do keep applying to jobs and you just stay positive and just know that you do have the skills, you do have the experiences. you did have a good interview, but for whatever reason, it might just be taking longer. Sometimes you might get the offer, the next day. Sometimes it might take even like 2 months. I've heard of people waiting for 3 months before they actually got even a call to have a second interview. So it really depends on the organization. I wish I had a concrete answer, but that's just the way that kind of it works in Canada. It really does depend on the employer.
It really depends on their workload or whatever their priorities are, because they might need someone, but they might not need them right away. So they're working on other projects, whatever it is. So you really don't know. It could be that they need someone in the next 2 weeks, or it could be that they can wait this out a few months, or they can take their time to really select who they really want. So there's no right or wrong answer. Shaman has a really good question. Is it true that employers post jobs online for the sake of posting jobs, even when they know very well that they won't select any external candidates for a job opening? It's true, because due to policy, a job posting has to be posted for everyone to apply. Now, for example, if I was a manager and I'm applying for, I have a job opening and I really like someone in not my department but another department, and I know that he'd be a great fit, and he's applied, but I still have to make sure that the job posting is there, so it's fair, but not really. But just to be fair, they do have to post a job posting. Yes.
So again, it really goes back to that pyramid and making sure you're doing more than one strategy to look for work, because a lot of the time they are internal, or they might be, Sonia referring a friend to the organization that they think might be a good fit. Employers rather get recommendations from people they already know and work well than just randomly looking online. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Thank you. Shivani has a question, wants to know, as a newcomer, how do you beat the local experience issue, like the Canadian experience issue? So the resume of the Canadian standard is still how how do you make it to a recruiter? How do you make them look at your resume at least, or get a phone call? And so let's answer that first. So how do you beat the Canadian experience question? Again, it's about Canadian experience is honestly an excuse I feel like the employers use sometimes that say, oh, you don't have any Canadian experience, because how come all of our new immigrants are hired working? But I think when they say that, I feel like they think that you might not be the right fit for the company. It's not that there's anything missing in your skills or experience. It's probably that it could be a personality thing, that you might not fit into the company well, because every company's got their own culture, and they want to make sure that the person that they're bringing on is going to get along well with everybody. And for that, Canadian experience, or like, I don't know, a different personality or a personality clash, could be an issue. And then you can't take this personally, because maybe, you've got this great personality, and you're very outspoken, you're outgoing, you're very confident, but then maybe there's someone on their team who's, a bit aggressive, and they've been there for many years. They want to keep them on, but they want to make sure that they want to hire someone who's not going to clash with that person's personality, right? So it's nothing to do with you. It might be to do with the people that already work there, right?
But it doesn't mean you can't, work towards understanding what the Canadian workplace culture is like. Even simple things with etiquette, like sending the email, responding on time, little things like this might even make a difference. So just make sure that we actually have articles online as well that you can check out about kind of overcoming Canadian experience, or even working on your communication skills and things like that. So that might be something that might help you kind of break that Canadian experience excuse if it's kind of related to fit.
Awesome. Aileen has a question. How much does the absence of Canadian experience on your resume affect your chances at landing a job? You know what? I can't say that really, because again, we've got all our clients end up finding work. I don't think it's a lack of Canadian experience. It might be a Canadian resume that you need. And in that case, again, you can check out our website and see how to have a Canadian standard resume. Or if you are, like I said, if you're anywhere near our offices, come in and we can help you set up a resume, a Canadian standard resume as well. So I don't think that's that big of an issue. And again, like if you really have to believe that that's not a barrier in yourself. If you start believing that's a barrier, then it's going to be a barrier.
Yeah. And there, again, are things that you can do to get used to the Canadian environment and things like that. So even if you're coming here, make sure you're kind of planning all of those networking kind of opportunities that we were talking about, right? Even volunteering, getting kind of to understand what it's like. These are all recent things that you can add to your resume that can kind of combat the whole excuse about the Canadian experience. So if you're demonstrating that you're learning, you're working, you're doing school, whatever it is in Canada, and you're getting these experiences, then that will definitely help at least kind of break that barrier.
Now, Adele has a very good question. He's saying that he's been interviewed for several jobs that fit his or her skills and experience, but he's facing the same question, asking in the interview they would ask, do you have Canadian experience? Doesn't that sound a bit silly to you? They already saw your resume and they saw that you don't have Canadian experience and they called you in for an interview. And now they're asking you, do you have any Canadian experience when they clearly see that you don't? It's just a question, a matter of just to judge your confidence as to how you're going to answer that question. It's honestly a trick question because they're not going to waste their time to call in somebody who doesn't have Canadian experience if they're looking for someone with strictly Canadian experience. So if you've been to all these interviews and they're all asking you the same question, they want to know how you're going to answer that question. So you can say, well, yes, I do. I've been working on, I've been going to all these different workshops. I've been working with all these people. I've been looking into these schools, or I've been taking this course. I volunteer on the weekends, or I go to my daughter's school. So, I get in touch with a lot of people. I really know how to, how to basically be Canadian. And that's all Canadian experience. Just like going to the mall, going grocery shopping, talking to people. Being in Canada is the Canadian experience. Yeah. And they just want to see how you're going to answer that. They want to see if you're confident enough to be Canadian. Are you ready to be Canadian?
And if you have experiences back home, you have the skills, that you have the experience, own it, and make sure that you talk about it in a way that makes it transferable to the Canadian work environment, because you've done very similar things, you've had similar conversations, you understand the technical side of things. They really want to see how are you going to fit on a personal level, and that's really what you want to be working on. So if there are other things that you can do, events that you can go to practice, speaking and engaging and having these kind of connections with others, that's what you want to be doing as well to kind of combat that whole Canadian experience thing that they have here.
Thank you. So Majid is asking, I've applied for several jobs through many Canadian job sites. Unfortunately, he hasn't heard back. What's the problem here? So again, it might be a resume. It's not matching the job description perfectly. There is an ATS system, so it's an automated system that basically matches your resume to the job ad. And if it's not almost 100% match, then they're not going to call you. So you have to make sure that the keywords, responsibilities, skills, experience that they're asking for is all in your resume somewhere, so it's a good match, and maybe you'll get a call. And then, again, you can apply for our Rapid Resume event and see if you get through, so we can at least have a look at your resume and see if we can help you as well.
And again, it really goes back to doing more than one thing. If you're only applying to jobs online, it's obviously going to kind of lower your chances of getting into the employer's mind. So you want to be out there making those connections. You want to be doing things that help you learn and grow about what the industry is looking for. And hopefully that will help you kind of update your resume or meet the right people to kind of get you the experience you need to break through that kind of online wall.
Awesome. We're getting a lot of questions about cold calling. So is it a good idea to cold call, target offices or organizations?
I would say it's something that you can do, but you want to make sure that you're not just kind of randomly calling people. You want to make sure you're doing your research if you are going to do any type of cold calling. You want to really kind of pick the company that you want to do and try to make those connections beforehand versus just having a cold call, because those are really difficult to kind of get you a job. And usually if you are going to be doing this type of thing, I would try to think of it as more as building that connection first versus just calling, being like, I need a job, like give me a job. You want to make sure that you're, building up that rapport, letting them know what your skills and experiences are, and maybe even starting off as like an informational interview to get information about how you can get into the company versus just right away, right off the bat saying, hey, like I need a job, hire me, hire me. You want to kind of work your way into that kind of mindset for the employer to want to get to know you more.
Awesome. We are towards the end of the webinar. I guess we can take one more question. Okay, so Donatus wants to know, saying, I work in 3 different job roles at the same company. Do I create 3 different resumes? No. What you will do is that, okay, so let's say you work as a project manager and you work for, let's say, I think someone said you're also like in recruitment and you're also in, I don't know, like it's sort of in an admin position. So what you can do is say you're applying, when you're applying, you're not going to be applying for all 3 roles at the same time. So let's say if you're applying for a project manager position, just focus on your project manager role, and then you don't have to emphasize so much on your other roles. So that's how you will target the resume. You cannot keep the same resume and use that or apply different jobs. Each resume has to match with each job description that you're applying to, each job ad. So it's not like I'm going to have my recruiter resume, I'm going to have my project manager resume, I'm going to have my admin resume, and then I'm just going to send them out. If that's not how it works, you're going to have to, even then you have to work on them again and again just to make sure that it matches with the job ad. So yeah, just take out the other experiences and focus in on the one that you're applying to, basically. Thank you everyone for your questions. I'm sorry, but we do have to cut it short now because we're actually going over our time. But then again, if you are interested, if you had any unanswered questions, you can again email us at onlineservices@accessemployment.ca. And if you do want to take part in our client appreciation event, the rapid resume review, email us here and answer what you like most about our webinars and what do you think we should improve on. And we really need to be available on May 17th at 11 a.m. We can't do it any other time. And whoever is selected, we will give you the next steps and we'll take it from there. So again, thank you for joining us, everyone. If you want to connect with us, the best way to do is to go through Access Employment on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook. And there is a survey at the end of the webinar. We'd love to hear from you. So please fill it out, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great evening or day. Bye for now.